Sudden death over time, win the clinch tonight. No regrets while you push yourself to overdrive. Born and bred for the gold, it's the thrill of the show. Whoa, it's 9 minute go. It's 9 minute go. Folks all gone pro. It's 9 minute go. Go, 9 minute go.
What's going on, wrestling fans? Welcome into another edition of the 9 Minute Go here on CWA Live. I am with the commissioner, Mr. Derek Caldwell. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Donnie. I know it's been a little bit of a time coming, I guess, or a long time. Just getting these 9 Minute Goes going again with us being in the middle of 5 showcases in 5 months. We felt, what better time to get the 9 Minute fired up again than right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We have a lot to get into and a lot to talk about. So we're going to try to break some of this up into a couple of different episodes. Maybe we'll grab a guy on here or there to, come and sit down with us. But yeah, we definitely got a lot to talk about. But first things first, man, obviously we had Pittsburgh, then Jersey. But what's next? What do we got coming up?
Yeah, so, like we said, 5 showcases in 5 months. We're actually going to the first market where we don't have an active team set up right now, and that's Detroit. So we've been in Pittsburgh a couple of times, we've been in Philadelphia, we've been in Central PA, and we're planning to go back there in October, and we've now gone to New Jersey, but we don't have a team currently in Detroit set up for 2026. So this is going to be our first market where we're not going to have like a team that we're trying to revolve things around, but partnering with Beat the Streets Detroit and doing that at Wayne Memorial High School in Wayne, Michigan, which is like a Detroit metro area, from my understanding. That's where we're going to be having the event at on September the 25th. So it's a Thursday. We checked the Thursday night football calendar. I think it's like Seahawks against Cardinals or something pretty random for the East Coast like that. Yeah. So for us, like it was a perfect date. It wasn't like we had to worry about a Detroit Lions Thursday night football game or anything like that. So exciting stuff for us to be able to get out there and start to trickle into that Midwest region of the country. Obviously, ton of great wrestling out there with Central Michigan, Michigan State, and a lot of those D2 and D3 schools out in that region as well. Exciting times for us to be able to put that on. I know Beat the Streets is really excited to have us out there. They're going to have a couple of high school matches. So we're going to have the high school showcase matches that we had in Pittsburgh. We tried to have one in Jersey. I think everybody was kind of Fargoed out there. But we'll bring them right back here in Michigan and Detroit. So it's exciting.
Are tickets available yet?
Yeah, buddy. So tickets are online. You can go to CWAWrestle.com. There's a link that's also floating out there on all the socials. So whatever your avenue is to check up on all things Folk Style Gone Pro, that ticket link will be there for CWA Showcase IV in Wayne, Michigan, aka Detroit.
All right. Well, I guess let's just dive right into a little recap. Let's turn back the clocks a little bit. We returned to Pittsburgh, back to the Berg. Showcase number 4. Just give me your initial thoughts right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is kudos to you guys down in Pittsburgh and just your fans and your people, your wrestling people showed up and showed out for the event. I think we had a great mix of guys that were local and then also high-end guys that really made it worth people's while to be out there at Live Casino Pittsburgh in Greensburg, PA. So it was an awesome atmosphere. It was standing room only by the time everybody filed in. Had a little bit of a mix-up with the seating. It was a good problem to have that, we sold all the chairs essentially. But we had to and I mean, you can elaborate on this too, Donnie, with just the kind of the setup of the casino and everything that we had to do. We had to take like a few rows from one corner and then make them caddy corner and make like a longer front row on one side of the mat. So it was a little bit of a chaos thing in the beginning, but everyone found their seat eventually, and there was enough seats for everyone that had purchased one. But it was just, it got a little crazy there. Everyone was in. I think everyone was just so fired up to see what it was all about that, everyone was just trying to get to their seat and get all set up. But once we got things rolling, I mean, the wrestling was amazing. I think the guys, even starting with the little guys in the high school showcase, they really embraced the 9-minute match, and buddy, we had some great matches there that night.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think you kind of said it best there that the Whippio in the area that, Greensburg and Westmoreland County, they really showed up. And, it was cool to see there was a lot of kids running around, and, a lot of dads having a couple of adult beverages too. So we got those numbers, and, those came back pretty strong. So it was a great atmosphere, like you said. And the wrestling certainly attributed to that. Like you said, right off the bat, Bo Fennick and Cyrus Woodbury. I mean, those are two really, really high level high school kids getting after it. And, they really don't have, an E on their gas tanks when they're at that level. So it was pretty cool to watch them full go. And it was a fantastic match. But yeah, you get right into the undercard match. You got Nate Smith and Jeff Alexander. Jeff Alexander coming off the the couch or the marathon track, so to speak. But Nate Smith, man, he looked fantastic. Kind of dogged him down in the end, and a guy that I think we probably will see again at some point. What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Nate Smith pretty extensively over the course of the last month or so, just about like kind of what's next for him with us. So he is, he's sitting as a mercenary right now within the league, and so that's what he'll continue to do. But we talked about having a potential matchup for him in Williamsport at CWA Showcase IV in Liberty Arena. So I think that's what that will look like. He'll have another undercard match there, but he he wrestles great. He's high energy. He's always attacking. So he's the kind of guy that we want to see involved consistently in our events. And obviously, like if you're a team and you're hard up for a 150 pounder, Nate Smith's a guy you could definitely nab come next year if you're down a man around that weight.
No doubt. Moving on to the main event, the main card. Speaking of high pace, high energy, two guys that certainly brought in, Anthony Noto and Brian Courtney. Brian Courtney, really just, even in a loss, really showing some really good stuff there. But Noto just a little bit too much, just coming off of a, fresh college career. Two guys I think that are going to be stalwarts and mainstay in the CWA.
Yeah, and with Brian Courtney, I know this isn't really the New Jersey recap portion, but he came back and wrestled a second time in New Jersey, and actually dropped a weight to get rostered for Central PA. So we were excited to see that happen. But yeah, in Pittsburgh, Noto got up on him early, but the gas tank of Brian Courtney was second to none. Like he just kept coming the whole time. He was just like one shrug away from tying that match up. But Noto was just, I think, just a little bit bigger and was ready to go. Noto too. The funny thing is like for him, he was doing camps and everything leading up to this, and like we thought we were going to lose him. Like we thought we weren't going to have him here in Pittsburgh for CWA Showcase IV because he got caught in some sort of like rainstorm in Chicago after he was doing a camp out in South Dakota, like 2 days before the event was supposed to happen, before the weigh-in show. And when he messaged me that the night before, Thursday night, he says to me like, "Hey, I'm caught in this storm. There's storms over Chicago. I'm coming home from South Dakota." I thought he was still in South Dakota the way he wrote the text. So I was like freaking out, like, what are we going to do? How do we got to get this guy here? He was in Chicago the whole time. He could have driven to Pittsburgh if he really had to. So, crisis averted, thankfully. But yeah, he sent me in a little bit of a panic there.
Yeah, for sure. But it's good to see that him get his first victory under his belt against a guy that's, we think is, going to show himself well here in the CWA in Brian Courtney. moving up to the next match, a kind of a match that seemed to do a good job packing the house, and Cody Law and Mike Van Brill. Cody Law with a big crowd behind him, the former UPJ national champion, and Bellator and PFL fighter. A pretty good record. I believe he's 5 or 6-1 in the Bellator or the PFL or pro record, I should say. But a fantastic matchup there. A little bit of a tight match, 4-3. Kind of like a 1 or 2 exchange match. Cody Law comes out on top. And it's just good to see, both the Van Brill boys made the trip across the state of Pennsylvania here. And, but yeah, I like it was a good matchup there.
Yeah, it was a solid match. I think, Cody got to his offense a little bit more than Mike did, and that was the difference in the match. Mike went for some big stuff at the end, but Cody, he's a wily vet. Even if he hasn't been on the mat in a competition in like 6-7 years, he still wrestles all the time. He's in the room with like the UPJ guys and stuff. So I never really worried about him like not having it when he was out there. But ultimately it just came down to who was able to score more off of their offense. And Cody Law was that guy on that night.
Speaking of offense, going up to the next match, probably one of the most impressive performances of the night. Ed Scott with a 16-2 major decision over John Van Brill. Just impressive stuff, DC.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that he had the capability to just throw the kitchen sink the whole time, but he came out and he not only did that, but he shut John Van Brill down too. Like, he didn't allow him to spend any time on top. Like, the second that Van Brill tried to throw any sort of boot or anything, he swam out and reversed him right away. So he was game and he was ready to go from the start. And ultimately, I think it just came down to just, Ed had been competing, doing the U.S. Open and doing the world team trials and all those types of things. And, John, too, like, to his credit, like, he was still training and everything. But when you make that trip out to Fargo and you're spending all that time and you're putting all your energy into those guys and serving them, that can take a toll on your performance a little bit. And I think it might have been a combination of both things. His training was just a little different in the sense of it wasn't as selfish of a training as you would need when you're going into like a 1 9-minute folk style match against one guy that that you have like a month and a half out.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, moving on. Scott Joel, Matt Weinberg. Kind of a last minute addition to this card, but man, a really, really great match. 8-7. Tight decision there for Scott Joel. And, right there in the middle of the match, it was like a mid, kind of looked like a DDT, to be honest with you. But both guys, do what, they got to what they like to do. Scott likes to throw the kitchen sink, kind of like Ed Scott does. And, he just came out on top, but a fantastic matchup.
Yeah, it was. And I think a lot of people didn't know anything about Matt Weinberg. And then that night showed them like, this guy can hang. I was getting texts from like Trent Hidlay the next day. It was like, dude, I didn't understand how good Matt Weinberg's game was. And I was like, man, honestly, we weren't sure either, but he was a 3-time All-American at Kutztown, and he it wasn't like he was 8th and 8th, like he was 2nd, 4th, and 3rd. So like he was legit on that scene, and he was constant on Scott's legs early, and he was up 5-1, and you said it, like, he got his bell rung. I checked on him afterwards. He's like, nah, I was fine the whole time. I said, okay, pal, whatever you say. But for him, he was on him the whole time. I think it just that stunned him a little bit, and Scott took advantage of it, and he was able to get a couple reversals and get a couple takedowns and then ride him out to win. And that was the difference. Big, Scott had, obviously being a Bell Vernon guy, had the hometown fans behind him, but at the same time, I think like like Matt really proved himself, and we'll talk about, he wrestled in Jersey as well, and we'll talk about his result during that recap. But he's a guy that's going to be around for a while with us. I think he's really proved himself, shows that he can hang with some of the better guys. So we'll see where that leads him. Right now he's sitting as a mercenary, and he'll continue to be a mercenary for the time being. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if down the road, as he continues to develop and get better, that he ends up being like a rostered wrestler for one of these teams eventually.
Yeah, no doubt. He's definitely got game. And, like you said, some pretty high finishes. A lot of these D2 guys we are seeing make their stamp early here in the CWA, improving themselves so that, they can hang and they're right there. So very, very cool stuff. All right, moving on up. Gavin Hoffman takes out Zane Lanham by 7-3 decision. It was a really good match. Gavin just a little bit too much. Another one that's coming off of, a fresh college career. Zane as well, coming off a fresh college career. Really interesting matchup. Zane, he can go, man. Impressive performance, man. Those two, they do not move like typical 220 pounders. They move like lightweights. It was a fantastic match.
Yeah, you said it. I think that, Gavin was just able to get to his low single and finish, and he got that a couple of times on Zane, and that was the difference in the match. With the 2-point takedowns, you're not necessarily, the gap isn't so huge whenever you're up, right? Like you have to score a couple of takedowns, and with a 9-minute match, you have more opportunity to do that. Gavin, though, to his credit, he was all the way up at heavyweight, weighing like 235 in March, and then he came down to 97 kilos for the U.S. Open. So he's kind of hovering around that 210 to 215 range, anyways. And so 220 was just a naturally good fit for him. He loves the weight class. He said to me afterwards, he goes, well, what about maybe 195? I said, well, that's up to you, man. But it just depends on what you want to do. Like, are you trying to go down to 86 kilos eventually with your freestyle side of things, or are you trying to stay up? So, I think that's just something that he has in the back of his mind. Like, does he want to go all the way down, or maybe just 92 kilos and then wrestle 195 for the CWA? I don't know. There's a lot of options for him. Obviously, he's a talent, and, he'll be around with us for a while. I think he loves the fact that his home arena right now with the Central PA Whitetails is 5 minutes from his house too. So that he's got that going for him as well.
Not bad.
No, not bad at all.
Yeah. He's definitely looked fantastic. And obviously, a guy that, I think we're going to see a lot of, and, coming up real shortly, I'm, here in, October, hopefully when we get down there, maybe we will see some of those guys out there. But as far as Pittsburgh goes, man, another great, event out there. I guess we probably won't be back until the fall next year, right?
Most likely. Maybe we've toyed with the thought of like house shows and things like that with some of these, obviously the casino loved having us there. Our people, sold them out of freaking Coors Light and Miller Lite there. So it's funny hearing that on the back end of like, hey, like they're like out of this, and like everyone has to drink Mick Ultra and flights and stuff. I was like, oh, that's good for the casino, I guess, and I mean, I know our fans, they love to go hit the tables after the fact as well. So I think the casino had just as much fun as we did that night. So there's a possibility that we might do a house show there. But also in talking about that, and like when we talk about the streaming and putting everything together, like 247 fighting and the guys who have 247 live where we stream through, they just opened their home arena, Sunny Days Arena in North Versailles, which is basically the same distance away from Pittsburgh as Greensburg is. But it's an MMA arena that we've already talked and had layouts of like transitioning the octagon out and putting a wrestling mat in. So a lot of cool things. It's like a terraced arena. It was a movie theater that they completely revamped. Donnie, you can speak to it too, dude. Like we both went and checked this place out. It is legit. And I'm telling you what, like it's a vibe in there too. So
it's 100% a place you want to go watch an event. No doubt.
Yeah. Right. Even if it's not ours, like they're going to do a ton of other stuff there too. Like they do grappling.
I think
and
they just did
MMA,
their first
obviously.
event. What was it? August 9th, a
August
couple
9th.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you can see their pictures online. You go on like 247's fighting website. Like you could see the pictures of the arena, and like it is 100%, like you said, it's a vibe. You got people on the upper deck, like where the old arena or the old theaters were and stuff, and they're looking down over at the fights. It is really, really neat and really cool arena. And, I can't wait. Hopefully we get in there, and obviously it's good to have options, right? It's good that, we're selling ourselves well in that aspect, that, multiple places are interested in having us. But either way, we'll definitely be back to the Berg at some point again.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about it. Like, and that's the thing is like this at people. That's what, like when you talk about the kids being there, right? Like those kids were wearing all the Skywalkers gear. Like they loved it. They had the CWA hats on and the Skywalkers t-shirts. Are running around and just having a great time. And you got the guys throwing t-shirts out into the crowd. And so like these people love their wrestling in Pittsburgh. So it was never a question of like if, it was like when, like, right, like we're gonna do this a ton in Pittsburgh because the people love it there, and they're really responding to the guys that we're putting on this team too. So I think that's a big part of it as well. They're getting to see some of their hometown guys, and some other guys that maybe aren't necessarily quote unquote hometown, but they definitely add a nice aspect and swagger to the Pittsburgh Skywalker team.
All right. So as we dive into the next part of the show here, we have a very special guest due to come on, the CWA veteran, All-American for rider, Mr. Chad Walsh. Super excited to have him on. Of course, Derek, a guy that I'm super pumped that you nabbed early on. He's 2-0, like I just said, but man, funky style, and he certainly brought it here to the CWA.
Yeah, it's funny because every time I talk to him, he's like, man, like this keeps me going. Like it gives me something to look forward to and to train. Obviously, he's a coach at Drexel right now, and he loves training those guys. He talks about it all the time when I chat with him. But for him, competitively, he knows he still has a little something left, and he wants to be able to display it. And we give him that platform and that opportunity to do it. He's done amazing thus far. I don't know if he likes necessarily when we rag on him a little bit when Scott Joel sent him for a ride in Philadelphia, but nonetheless, he's always been, ever since I've worked with him here last October, starting out, he's always been more than willing to put it on the line. And like you said, he's got such a funky style, dude. He's so fun to watch. You never know what position he's going to put himself in. So
yeah, that Scott Joel match with him and Philly was just fantastic. The positions that they put each other in, it was just some really, really high level stuff. And like you just said there, he's really just a pro's pro in every aspect of it. The way he goes about his weight cut, how he handles himself throughout the entire process. I really just enjoy being around Chad, and I just can't wait to talk to him here in a little bit. But what's the future plans for him? We going to get him another match here on a showcase?
Yeah, we're figuring that out right now. It's the thing for Chad is it's got to be timing, right? Like the intent was to actually have him in Jersey, but it just didn't work out timing wise. He said to me flat out, he's like, I'm not a summer wrestler. And then he said to me, well, if you need a guy, I'll wrestle. So at that point I was like, I can't get you a match. We were 2 days out, and he's like, I'll wrestle. I was like, but I don't have anybody for you to wrestle on 2 days notice. And not anybody is going to take a match with you on 2 days notice.
No chance.
Right. So he was there still. He showed up, he watched, he came and supported, but it's just funny that he was like, I don't really want to wrestle in the summer. And then 48 hours before the event, he goes, I'll wrestle. Give me somebody.
Classic Chad Walsh. I love it. Brew dog. Ready to go in any situation, man. I love that.
No doubt. Yep, for sure. So excited to talk to him. He's the man. So I'm excited to hear what he has to say.
And without further ado, let's bring him on. All right. Joining us now on the call, we have All-American rider and 2-0 in the CWA, Mr. Chad Walsh. How are you, sir?
Doing pretty good. Just wrapped up practice here in Philly at Drexel. We got a couple more, I guess Thursday we'll wrap up our summer training segment, and things are looking good. We're getting geared up for another good season.
When you guys started out at Drexel, did you guys start classes already or not yet?
Yeah, not even close. We're like a month out from school starting, which is wild. Almost all of our guys are in their co-op right now, so they're working like basically 9 to 5 jobs and then coming to practice at 5:30. So yeah, we got some time. We'll have a little bit of a break right before school starts in terms of just practice and stuff like that. But yeah, school starts, I think September 22nd is the first day of school. It's a very strange schedule.
Wow, that's crazy. So do you guys get like, are they done? Like, is their Christmas break start mid-December like the rest of the teams, or they make them stay till New Year's? What, like, how's that work?
Yeah, so they're doing like a quarter system right now, basically. And so they'll have basically like a regular semester that wraps up, I guess, pretty similar to like when everyone else does in like mid-December. And then they have like a Christmas break, but then the semesters are just a little shorter. So they'll go like late September until December, and then January through March, and then they have like 2 more semesters from March until late March until now. So it's broken up into quads right now. So most of the guys end up working for half of the year. They'll work their co-op. So it's basically like you're seeing 2 semesters, but then you get like 6 to 7 months of job experience at the same time. So they're basically not taking too many breaks in terms of school. The only breaks are like a couple weeks long. So
that's wild. That's wild. I guess I never realized. Has that always been like that, or is this like a new, like at Drexel, has it always been that way?
Yeah, it's kind of always been like that. They're actually looking to go to a semester thing now. So I think the co-op is just going to end up being the summertime. So I think it will be a little more normal to like a regular college schedule. But yeah, for a really long time, I mean, everyone's heard of the co-op, but I guess people just don't realize like how long it lasts and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely a little different. But one thing I can say is that everyone's kind of getting actual real work experience. So that's what's always set kind of Drexel apart, is that they, you have to get a job. You have to figure out like where you're going to do your co-op, and then you jump in and work for a couple months. And this is like I think you'll do it 3 times in your 4 to 5 years of school where you're actually working for 5 to 6 months. So everyone usually kind of changes jobs each and every time. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing that I'm just learning it too. I've only been here for basically about a year now. So I didn't know exactly how it worked, but yeah, now it's cool seeing guys like they're having to bring a lot of energy to every day when you're getting up, going to work, and then rushing straight from work right back to practice. So, but yeah, like I said, things are going good. Our guys are training really hard, and this is kind of the time of year where a lot of other guys are taking off. So it feels good to be firing at a pretty decent clip in middle and late August.
So Chad, for me, I guess kind of diving into your wrestling, we're gonna kind of pick you apart here and get the CWA fans let them get to know you a little bit better. For me, I guess really I want to start off, where did you discover your style? Obviously you got that funky, all over the place style, kind of throw the kitchen sink at you, but it's really obviously where you're at in every position, and it's just an impressive, very cool style. So where did you kind of learn how to do all that stuff?
First of all, thanks for the kind words. It's definitely it's cool to be recognized, and same thing with my older brother and now my younger brother, to be recognized as guys that are a little unconventional, and people see that it still can work at a high level. So I think the best way to describe it is that my dad, he started wrestling when he was like maybe a sophomore in high school, and he learned this move from I don't know if it was maybe somebody that had wrestled in the Army, but all I know is that it was always called the Army roll. Right. And basically what that is when you're in like a rear standing position and you're on bottom, you can reach back and grab the far lat and then grab the near tricep and, basically be able to control a guy even though he has your back. And so my dad taught us that move when we first got into it. And you can imagine all like the youth coaches and stuff like that telling us not to do that. And basically it gave us a little bit of an edge on bottom. And then that sort of was kind of like I feel like everything kind of branched off from that, like learn how to reach back, learn how to use your body in different ways. And then also what I would say is that my dad definitely sought out coaches that, we had like our regular club coaches where we kind of just wrestled a lot of live. But then he definitely sought out if we were going to like a sort of more technical or, different sort of practice where there wasn't as much live. It was more technique. It's kind of funny to say, but both of the coaches that I would say were really helpful and Taylor and my like development of the funky style of wrestling, they were both named Dale. They're both Southeastern Pennsylvania guys. So that's why I'm not afraid to kind of claim like a hybrid status in terms of where I grew up wrestling. It was definitely a lot of New Jersey, but then also a lot of technique and competition and stuff like that. And most of the freestyle wrestling we did, I felt like was in PA. So one of the guys' names was Dale Irwin. He ran the club called Catch. And a lot of actually Lewis Baker was one of the guys that like I got to know. There were so many different guys from Jersey and PA that would come there and just have like learn this crazy technique. And then the other guy's name was Dale Bonsall, who ran Renegades, and he was kind of different, but also kind of the same, where they were just like when they'd show a move on you, they whack you in the head, and everything they do is pretty violent, but at the same time they are trying to get the technique across to you. Like think about wrestling differently and be physical and wrestle freestyle and Greco and learn how to sling it from every position, basically.
Yeah. So with all of that though, so I guess the big thing, like for me, like leading into like going to college and everything, was it always Rider, or were there other schools that were looking at you, or like, I guess, what was that process like for you, like after you kind of rounded out high school and started to look at colleges?
Yeah, it was definitely a tough decision for me because I actually really didn't want to go to Rider. I had grown up going to practices there, and I just felt like it just wasn't really going to kind of challenge me. And I felt like it was just kind of, I guess you could call it like a fallback school. But the 3 official visits that I took were all in my senior year. My first one, I went to Chattanooga. I thought that would be cool because it was like the #1 outdoor city in the country. And, they had some good wrestling going on down there. I think Esslinger was the head coach and Cerritos was the assistant coach. So I visited there. That kind of gave me my first bearings on like a college visit and stuff like that. I got my butt whooped. They did an hour grind match on the Saturday morning that I was there. And just the partner I ended up with was a guy that was like their starting 57-pounder. And it was like the toughest go of my life. But I hope that I showed him I was tough, but it just was like adding insult to injury. I already was like not really sure what I wanted in a college and got literally pounded for like an hour. And so that was not really a high option, I would say, after that first visit. And then I kind of did my senior year. I took second at, I guess the first tournament was the Beast of the East. And then I took second in New Jersey States. And then I guess right after the March, whatever, I took second at senior nationals. So it was tough, honestly. I was like in a little bit of a bad spot in terms of, knowing that I'm good and knowing I can compete, but just couldn't get it done in any of those finals. So I ended up taking 2 more visits after those tournaments, and one was to Campbell. So I guess I'm a SoCon kind of guy. But, I did end up coaching in the SoCon for a couple of years, but and then I visited Cal Poly too. And that was like, kind of right after senior national. So I really liked it there, as I think anybody would. And especially because I was kind of like getting offers and just basically like getting people asking me if I wanted to come on an unofficial visit or, maybe a book scholarship or like a 10% scholarship to these different schools that I didn't take officials to. And so for Cal Poly, it was almost a full ride. And I was like, man, this place is beautiful. I was like, I think I went out to lunch with my mom and told her that I was going to go there. I was like feeling really good about it. But I don't know if it was just maybe enjoying my senior year and just kind of like, I just wasn't ready to pull the trigger on it. And so I didn't. And so like time just lingered on. So I graduated high school in, I guess it was like June. and still hadn't decided on anything yet. So like the offers, I guess they were sort of still on the table, but ended up finally, like my dad basically called me and said, like, you got to make a decision. And Ryder had kind of come in late with a nice offer. And it was just like, I really don't want to go there. The guy that beat me in the state finals, Wayne Stinson, was going there. And I was just like, I just want to get away from all of this like second place type shit. And I just want to go somewhere else. But basically what it came down to was that like the options were off the table. And, or even if they weren't, it's just like Ryder is going to be a good option. I'll be close to home. And I didn't know what I was in for because, man, they for 5 years straight, they had every partner I could have ever asked for. Like that room was always tough. And I don't know if it was just because it was a bunch of just like kind of like a little bit roughneck New Jersey guys that just, they got a little bit of an attitude, but we love wrestling against the PA, the EWL, which isn't even around anymore, was like, even that made being at Ryder really fun because we were like kind of putting on for New Jersey, and we're wrestling Lock Haven, Edinburgh, Bloomsburg, Clarion, Cleveland State, and George Mason. And so it ended up being just like a great school in terms of me being able to build into the starter, and the coaches are they're two of them are still there and the other one's not with us anymore. And it's just like, it's just a great place to have wrestled under those three coaches. So I didn't think that going in though. I thought I was going to hate it.
Well, it ended up pretty good for you there, buddy. You find your way onto the podium and, earn All-American status and do all the things. And, but I guess, when your time came to an end, did you ever think you would be in an opportunity like this, wrestling in, a professional wrestling league like the CWA?
No, I don't really think so. I think one thing's for sure is that I've always kind of taken any chance that I can to compete, and that most of those came in freestyle after I graduated. So I wrestled like 15 or 20 freestyle matches just to kind of like, I don't know, I was going to practice every day anyway, so I just kind of jumped in. And no, I mean, I think the CWA, it kind of came to me it was once again like a year ago when I was just getting kind of settled in and started at Drexel. I knew my 30th birthday was coming up. And so when Dan Neff got a hold of me and said, there's a chance for me to wrestle on my 30th, I was like, I'm not going to make plans. So let's send it. So I was like, all right, we're going to Williamsport. I had been there before. We used to go to camp in high school at Lycoming. And I'm like, I like Williamsport. So let's do that for a birthday plan. And so, yeah, it definitely like was good timing. And I just think that, just even thinking about the CWA a little bit, like, you guys have not the burden, but you guys have, the task of trying to find guys that, that want that kind of match, that want to wrestle for 9 minutes. And I mean, everyone can say they want to, but it's hard to really commit to doing it and commit to training for it. And then once you get in it, I mean, actually, I just got done watching my first CWA showcase and not being wrestling in it, and I was like, damn, this is rugged. The first match of the night, even like these guys are guys that weren't NCAA All-American Division I type of guys, but they literally battled for 9 minutes straight and like so many tough scrambles. And I was like, God, this is like, it's almost hard to watch sometimes because these guys are just like really fighting. And like I said, it's on you guys to try to find people that are willing to fight like that, especially after they've kind of not to say they're not in their prime, but like they've kind of, they're not training probably as hard as they used to. Maybe there's some guys that kind of like slacked in college and now they have this extra motivation. But it's kind of funny to me that I think I would have been like, I could have done even better in college if the matches were 9 minutes. But nowadays it's like, I guess I got to put my money where my mouth is because it's like, all right, you got the chance to do it. It's just the problem is I'm not in that same kind of shape, I don't think. So the challenge is trying to gear up when I got these things coming up to get myself ready for it. So, but yeah, it's definitely an awesome opportunity for everyone that gets to do it. And I feel like it's just another thing, like I said, if opportunity arises where the timing's right and stuff like that for me, I'm ready to jump in and ready to kind of lock in and get excited to compete. And I think that I'm just a firm believer in the fact that fight that I talked about is something that, a lot of these have been in the Northeast, but it's, you know, when people really dive into it and they get a chance to watch these matches, it's like, it's rugged. And I think that's something that might be a little bit like old school. And there's still some really tough guys, obviously, that compete in NCAA wrestling, but to be able to have like a rugged old school, like even the old school rules with 2-point takedowns and little bit of a different riding time sort of setup, like I do think that it just gives, like I had a lot of conversations that night with people when I'm watching it, and they're like, you know, this type of 9-minute match, it like lends itself to a more scramble kind of style, because if you wrestle for extra time, there's just more time for exchanges to happen. And, you know, there's just a little bit different rule set that, you know, people can do the, you know, go on your back. You're not worried about giving up danger count, you know, like stuff like that. And that, at the end of the day, that's also something that kind of lends itself to scrambling a little bit. And not to say I'm Mr. Scramble guy necessarily, but like it definitely, there's exchanges that almost, it's like vintage in some ways. You get like these vintage type of exchanges that like we've kind of lost because of, you know, the new style of, you know, the new rule set in college wrestling. So that was one thing that I kind of took from this last one that was kind of cool. It's just like this type of match. There's, you know, this rule set. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I said what I needed to say with that.
No, but it was good. Good, DC.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like you said, like different rule set, more of an old school rule set or vintage. I like the way you put that spin on it, Chad. I like vintage. I like to call it that now. I think that's like what I'm going to go with, because I've always been trying to figure out, like, I hate calling it old school because it's only 3 years removed from us having like 2-point takedowns in the NCAA, but it just trickled down so fast through all the other ranks, all the way down to elementary school now. Yeah. Where you got these kids getting like 40-second techs because they can put you to your back in 5 seconds and get a 4 count 2 times over, no time at all. But with the 9-minute go, you're right. Like, it is a more rugged style because we really allow you guys to try to score, and that's it. We're not putting things in place that prohibit you from scoring, really. Like, we take the governor off of the entire thing and let you guys work. But for you, in your guys in your room, do you guys, like, I've always been interested in this, you guys that are college coaches, do you ever take like a CWA match like to your room and say, like, we're gonna wrestle CWA rules? Do you ever do that?
Honestly, I haven't. No, I think that you know, I feel like I don't really get the chance to sort of run a practice the way that I would like to, and that's not a knock. It's more so just like, it's probably for the safety of the guys on the team. Like, I kind of know, I chime in a little bit. The one thing that I've kind of tried to bring is something that I kind of was practicing in actually in Japan. Their training sessions were crazy. I thought it was going to be like something where obviously they've had like a great couple of years. And so their training sessions were just like a warm up, they put like 5 minutes on the clock, and they would do like basically judo, but you can like grab the legs. It's like try to get the guy to his back, right? Like feet to back. And then they did like a sort of more like a Greco, like warm up, just to mix it up a little bit. But then basically they would put 23-minute goes on the clock, and you kind of just do like a 3 and a 3 and wrestle like a spar freestyle match. And then you can take 2 off. And so I kind of brought that back, where it's like, you know, especially earlier in the summer when we don't have any competition coming up, just put 20, we didn't even do that many because we're not used to this type of training, but like put a bunch of 3-minute goes in a row on the clock, and then just let people go and wrestle them. And, you know, like most of the time when I did these sessions over there, it was against college kids, and I would just do a 3, 30 seconds off 3, and then take a break, maybe take that next match off, and then jump back in. So to think about doing, you know, a freestyle match and then adding a third period onto it, it's like, yeah, I think it just is something that people aren't used to. And I mean, there's definitely value in it. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, if I was kind of like running a free for all type of practice where it was just kind of like, you know, I want to push these guys really hard, it would be a great way to do it. I just don't really know where to put that into our training schedule. You know, I think it's awesome for just getting tough and just, learning how to wrestle a whole. At DC, I think just because you brought it up, I think I'm going to have to find a way to get it into one of our practices, just like, hey, we gotta try this, see what these guys are made of. So, but no, that's a good question. I'd be curious to see if there's people out there that are trying to do that. It's just almost like that sweet spot is 7 minutes is kind of like, I think one of the things that helped me as a college wrestler was that I realized that I could utilize those first 3 minutes a lot more because I had some time to make up for, mistakes, or if I gave up some points, like I'll have time in those next, the 2 and 2. And so it definitely, like I said, I mean, a 3-3-3 would have been something that I would have liked to see. If apparently, look, I don't know. Our academic advisor at Ryder, who is like the real life Indiana Jones, this guy's name's Dr. Halpern. He's like the anthropology professor. He tells me that when he used to live in I don't know if he grew up in the Bronx or if he just lived in New York City, but he used to wrestle, and he said that that's what their matches used to be, was 3-3-3. So I don't know if like it was that in PA too, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, they used to have 3-3-3 matches way back when.
Wow. Yeah, so
that's
maybe
news to me. I didn't know that. That's pretty sweet.
Maybe
Way
you want to talk about vintage. Yeah, maybe you're pulling back from, your grandpa. Was your grandpa a wrestler or something? This guy.
No, my grandfather was never a wrestler. Really, it was just the natural progression of we start at 1-1-1 as we're kids, right? And it kind of the time goes up. So through college, it's 3-2-2, and then if we're at the pro at the next level, it just kind of caps it, makes it perfect. 3-minute goes,
right?
And that kind of caps from start to finish of elementary all the way up through the pros. So that's why we did it the way we did it.
Okay.
It's just a happy accident that it was the same as like 7 years ago.
He said the matches were really boring back in the day because of it, though. So
yeah,
I think that's one other thing that I would like to kind of talk about real quick is just like the evolution of kind of scramble wrestling and all. Like, I'd always ask the question or wonder, just like, would guys back in the day that were just like mean as hell and tough as nails, like would they, how would they do against these guys nowadays? Just because wrestling's changed and guys are so much slicker, and it's interesting because in some ways I think that this sort of style sort of answers that question. In some ways, it's like you get 9 minutes for different types of wrestlers to hash it out, and I don't know. It just is. It's definitely like it. I don't know. Yeah,
sounds like we got to put you against a grinder then, Chad.
we got to find him a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got sure. I mean, whatever. Yeah.
In that vein, what's your future, man? What do you think? Do you think the CWA is something that you want to be a part of for a long time?
Yeah. I talked to DC before the matches started last week, and I let him know that I'm a full-time coach now at Drexel, so I kind of got a promotion here. So, I think that I get a little bit like skittish when it comes to like trying to jump into wrestling when I'm training these guys. And I think that's, there's a lot of coaches in this thing. And so, any coach or even like a head coach that, they got to be careful with letting their guys be on their own agenda in some ways. And so I'm ready to wrestle. I just got to make sure that the dates line up and stuff like that. I got to talk to the head coach because last year when I signed up, it was, I said it was on my birthday. I ended up missing our team retreat. But at the end of the day, it still gave the guys something to watch on the team retreat. And so it was like, good things are going to come from it regardless. But I just got to be a little bit more upfront about like what the dates kind of stack up for me. But yes, the answer is I like the challenge of it. And I like staying hungry and, knowing that I still got it. And at the end of the day, having 9 minutes to see what the hell unfolds, to see all the exchanges that I get into, and a lot of things that, man, we have practice for an hour and a half, and we get into all these spars, and all kinds of crazy wrestling happens when you're going hard. But sometimes because of the way strategy goes and matches are slow at the start, sometimes it's like, I think that when you got 9 minutes to kind of try to crack the code of who you're wrestling and figure out how to score, yeah, you're just going to end up trying some shit. So that's what I like about it, is that it gives me a chance to do some moves that I've only it's like unlocking moves for me that I've only ever hit in the room, like trying new stuff. So yeah, I love this, man. I'm a big fan of it now that I can say that I actually watched it as a fan for one. But also definitely trying to always challenge myself to stay ready for it.
So one last thing I would like to ask you, Chad, because obviously your brother Taylor, he's moved around a couple times here in the last few years, but he's migrated his way back up to South Jersey. So I know there's been conversations about him also competing. And obviously you guys really haven't competed together, correct me if I'm wrong, but since like high school, right? So, what would that look like, you guys being able to kind of compete on a team together again?
I think that, it's tough for a guy that like is a great wrestler and just like needs something to be able to push him to kind of get ready. Because, even if you're going against a guy that, you're better than technically speaking, if they're in 9-minute wrestling shape and you're in 1-minute wrestling shape, it can be hard to commit to it. And, I think that's kind of where my brother's been, is just like knowing in his mind that he's a competitor, but also like it takes a while to get back into that swing of things, basically building 1 minute at a time, what your confidence level is to be able to go out there. I mean, you can go out and slow things down, but when things get rough, if you don't have the legs underneath of you, that would be what I think I'm a little fearful of with my brother. And so it's like, he's just got to start training if we're going to do that,
Yeah.
It's tough, but you're waiting for the right option to come. But that would be the one thing I'd say is hard, is that if people get a little bit removed from it, I think that guys that are a college coach, it's almost like you kind of need to be able to do this if you're a college coach. I mean, if you're older and you're kind of, more of just like a administrative kind of role as a coach, then I can understand it. But if you're competing with the guys and wrestling a couple times a week, then you should be in somewhat of, if you train a little harder, you should be able to wrestle for 9 minutes. And my brother just really hasn't been coaching that much. So
yeah,
it would take, I don't know. We've tried a couple times. I know that, but
right.
yeah, it's just like he's got to start getting his hands dirty and seeing where he's at in terms of I think it's right now it's 1 minute shape. I mean, if you could get to 3 minute shape and then go from there, it's like you build into it a little bit. But I'm not saying everyone is 100% confident that they're not going to gas out. I think everyone gasses out at the end of the 9 minutes, which is pretty awesome. That everyone is like at the brink of their exhaustion point. You guys might want to keep some paramedics at these things, because guys,
we get them. They're there. Okay. You don't see them, but they're there.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Hopefully I don't end up on the stretcher, but it's definitely like, people they're willing to put their pride on the line, and it's just you got to be ready for it, because if you're gonna go, you have to have been there. You don't want that to be the first time that you actually wrestled for 9 minutes hard.
I guess the last thing I have for you, Chad, now that you're coaching and, competing a little bit with the CWA, has your coaching gave you, a different outlook or a new wisdom on how you compete, or changed how you compete at all?
Yeah. I mean, I think, it, if anything, like I was saying earlier about getting into all these crazy exchanges, when I went to try to jump into freestyle, I wasn't training freestyle at all. And so I don't know if maybe I really kind of put my mind to trying to train a freestyle, if I could have done a little bit better. I mean, I guess a little bit. But, I'm wrestling folk style 12 months of the year and almost all year round, like going pretty hard. I mean, we're not, there's some parts of the year where we're taking it easy, but, if there's anything that I've gotten better at since college, it's folk style wrestling. So, I think that when I jumped into the first CWA match, it was like, I was just training that's all I've ever done, is just train with college guys. I'm not like going to try to find new partners when I'm getting ready for these things. So I'm kind of just wrestling with the same guys that I've been wrestling with, and these guys get me ready, even though I'm trying to get them ready too. So it's like, I think definitely is like that's what's cool about like realizing that like Jesse Delavecchia wrestled at Ryder with me. He's coaching at Hofstra, and he trained with his college guys to get ready for this match. And it kind of helps, like the head coach, Jamie Franco, was his coach in the corner, and Jamie's was my coach in my corner in Philadelphia. And so it's like, Jamie's a believer in it. So it's like the more college coaches that you get to be on board with this, I think the better, just because it's like these guys obviously have a crazy passion for wrestling. They make it their lifestyle. Their wives and girlfriends have to deal with all of our crazy schedules that we've, and so I do think that like other styles of wrestling, that's like almost a different sect. I think that in some ways the CWA is like the best transition for NCAA wrestling because of the scrambles. And I don't even know what some of these other leagues are, I guess, like are going to be freestyle or a mix of that. But I kind of know that I ended up in one that is good for a coach. It's good for a guy that's, spending a lot of time working through scrambles, working through top and bottom, riding, mat returns, the stuff that, wins at the college level is going to win CWA matches too. So 100%, I think if there was ever going to be like a situation or a style of a match that I'd be ready for, it will be this, just because that's what I do all year round.
Love that.
So
I don't have anything else, brother. Do you, DC?
Nah, dude. I mean, obviously I always take pleasure in hearing the philosoph that is Chad Walsh,
Yes.
Talk wrestling. And obviously for us, we're firing up these podcasts again. So we want to get more guys like you on the 9 Minute Go podcast so we can talk more folk style wrestling and talk more CWA wrestling. And I can't wait to see, I got a couple things working in my head right now for you, Chad, and we'll talk about those off camera. But I got a couple matchups in mind that I wouldn't mind throwing your way here in one of these next couple of showcases. So definitely excited to see if we can make one of those happen here this fall.
Great. Yeah. Keep me posted on that. And I think, one thing that I'm just happy about with a conversation like this is just, it hopefully helps you guys even realize just the fact that you've kind of like stumbled upon something where it's like, you bring wrestling together for people that like pick up on this. And I know it's crazy just how all these different leagues have popped up, but for the people that are actually watching this and like into it, I think that they, if they have conversations about it, or if they're just hanging with their friends, they're like, wow, like that, like they see stuff that they haven't seen in a while. And so I think that it just is cool to kind of talk about it a little bit rather than be in it. So I think it's good that I was at that last one and got a chance to see some great matches. So let's talk. And obviously any way that I can be a proponent for this thing and keep it moving in the right direction so that more people can kind of see what these matches bring. I think that's what we're doing here. So
no doubt.
I love it. Well, Chad, thank you so much for your time, man. And I know we will see you soon, my friend.
All right. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for having me on.
Later, Chad.
All right, Chad.
Good night.
And that was the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Chad Walsh. Just love to hear him talk and how he breaks down wrestling. It's just like, super high level, it's like a Tom Brady breaking down a defense or something, man. It's just really, really cool stuff to hear.
Yeah, he's always a wealth of knowledge, and obviously his unconventional style. I feel like there's only a handful of guys in the country, over the last decade or so that really wrestle his way. I mean, him and his brother are two of them, but guys like Nolf and just more creative type wrestlers. But for him, like, he's always been a treat to watch wrestle. Even when I coached against him, it would just frustrate the heck out of me that we'd get a takedown and then we give up 5 or 6 points right off like 3 seconds later. And it just was baffling, but he was always electric, and I love that he's still doing it and he's here with us doing it. And he's a main proponent of the Philadelphia Founders. And, the next match that I have planned for him, that if we can make it happen, I think it'll be absolute fireworks.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I have no doubt about that. I guess for me, man, what I loved just to hear him kind of talk and break down what he loves about the CWA rule set and kind of how, he used the word vintage and some of the exchanges that he found himself in, which you and I both perked up whenever he said that. I love that for sure. And I think that's what we're trying to cultivate here, the old school wrestling style with the new slickness of the scrambles that these guys are finding themselves in. So, man, just a really great conversation with Chad.
Yeah, you're right. It is a combination of everything that we love about wrestling, right? Like it's the scrambles and the situations that guys can put themselves in, but then it's also, it's the grit. And like that's the thing that I think that college wrestling has lost a lot is between the bricks and the exposure rules, is that it takes a lot of what wrestling used to be. Like you can throw a brick and not be tired anymore. A guy's gassing out, that brick's coming because you can save them. You can't save your guy in the CWA. And really the guys that we have, they wouldn't want to be saved anyways. Like they may want it to actually get points, but these guys have motors on them. So that's the beauty of our league, is that there is no saving you out there. You are out there on that island. So you better be ready to wrestle the full 9 minutes. And that's the biggest thing, I think. And I think that's what makes the matches so exciting come third period, is like Noto and Brian Courtney's the perfect example, right? Like Noto had no way to escape that onslaught of attacks from Brian Courtney except to hold position and try to get a late takedown or get to a leg to keep the ref off his back or keep that stall call in his pocket. Like there was no saving him out there. And you could, you heard it in his interview. He was folded like a lawn chair for the first half of it after the match. So those are the types of things, that deep water, we want those guys to be able to go out and put their opponent in. So yeah, great stuff from Chad Walsh all around though.
Yeah. And excited to see where he kind of finds himself as we go down the road here for the CWA. But in that, Derek, talk to me about what we have coming up, where we're going here next month, and how can we get tickets for that event?
Yeah, baby. So we're in Detroit, September 25th. That's a month away. So that's at the Wayne Memorial High School in Wayne, Michigan, which is a Detroit metro area. This thing in combination with Beat the Streets Detroit is going to be a big one. So we're really excited about that. Moving into October, we're going to be at Liberty Arena. We're back in Central PA at Williamsport, PA, and we're going to have a great night there as well in conjunction with Matttown Fall Classic. We're making it a whole weekend thing. For people that are listening out there, if you have a high school team that wants to compete in the duels that are happening on Saturday morning before the showcase, bring your team, bring a dual team. That one way in gets you into not only the dual tournament, but also gets you into the individual tournament that'll happen in Liberty Arena on Sunday. And your team gets tickets to CWA Showcase IV with entering the dual tournament, just entering the dual tournament. Okay. Right. So if you have a team that enters that team gets into CWA Showcase with the entry fee for the dual tournament as well. So a lot of things happening in Williamsport, but really our focus right now is on the Motor City and being in Detroit. We have a huge event coming up there. Really excited about the card. We're working on all these, finalizing these pieces, and I tell you what, like this is going to be probably our biggest card yet. It's going to be bigger than Pittsburgh in terms of number of matches, the names, and everybody else that's going to be there. So just wait till you see it. I'm telling you right now, I know we released the first match, Sam Schuyler and Christian Lance at heavyweight, bringing the 300-pound weight class back for this one. It's been a few ever since like Meech and Sam wrestled in Williamsport last year. We haven't had one since. So we're bringing that back. And I think we're going to have a second heavyweight match actually on this card. So we'll be announcing that as well.
Nice. Bring out some big boys for the Detroit Motor City. I love that. And I just can't wait to get out there and see the guys get after it. And, another great episode in the books, DC. Chad coming on and breaking down the Pittsburgh card. But for now, that is it. Derek, do you have anything else for the faithful before I leave you go?
No, baby, just support us however you can. Appreciate all of it that we've had so far. Tell a friend. That's my biggest thing. I treat this thing like church. Tell a friend, bring them next time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that is all the time we got for this edition of the 9 Minute Go. For your boy D Hall and Derek. Later.
See ya.